Hi, I'm Matthew Sporcina. I decided I'm going to start vlogging, or maybe it's just this one vlog that I'm going to do, but it's going to be a long one because yeah, I'd like to get through a few points. Well, you know, it's about getting to the bottom of why we're here. Well, I can say honestly that I've been led through my life by different things, and only in the last year have I discovered that I've allowed myself to be led as opposed to leading myself, because to lead wasn't an option for me. I didn't think it was an option. Still, I use other people to lead me. However, there are moments where I take responsibility, but they're far and few between, sure. Because to be brutally honest, everyone that I attach myself to, I use to lead myself in a different direction. Whether I like it or not, whether it's intentional or not, that's what happens. I amalgamate with their consciousness, we become one, and we move in one direction. Because to try and move in two directions while you're one with somebody is painful, and we all avoid pain. So, what have I done in my life that's led me up to this point of making this vlog and hopefully reaching some people's hearts with honesty? Well, I've discovered that honesty is subjective in this world, that everything that is real, that is perceived to be real, is defined, and at some point someone is told what is real. Thereby, honesty can only ever be a judgment from what we perceive to be real as in conjunction to what we were taught or what we were told. So, to be honest is only to be subjective to that one viewpoint. So if you were told something is real, and then you were honest with yourself, you will crux that point of reference and use it to swivel off. So in your mind you'll think of that crux of a seesaw, like a seesaw on a crux, as a point of reference, and in your mind you'll be swiveling from one way to the other to get different perspective, like in a negative perspective or a positive perspective, to try and find a way to work out more, to make more knowledge out of that crux. And that crux is only what you've been told. So if you were raised in a deceptive environment, in a bubble, in the government and society, you don't have a very good reference point. So if you were told that your reality is what is not actually real, and then so you've got this crux let's say it's a triangle, and it's not based, hasn't got any foundation, it's hanging in the air. However, you see it as having a concrete stone foundation in your perception. Those that originally taught us how to teach those in society how to live see your crux on your foundation based in nothing, based in lies that can be popped. But you're kept there believing that is real for a reason. For example, money. Money is a contributing, controlling factor of man. Money requires that we follow it, that we use it, in order for it to exist. If we didn't use it, it wouldn't exist. We are told that money is everything. Not in words, but in actions. And actions are real. Words, not so real, unless they are based on the solid foundation of real action. So we come from this point of mass society ignorance to the point where society in its floating crux, floating in the middle of nowhere, has been trained to believe that it must defend its floating crux, that it must defend its floating reality as it sees it in order to survive. So you're born into this world, you were taught a lie, and you were told in order to survive you must defend this lie. So anyone that might actually have a real perspective outside of your floating crux has no influence over your impenetrable self-imposed deception. Now the problem is with this self-imposed deception, there is only so much unreality or deception that the original deception can be based in, because for your deceptive reality called your lie or your life has to be based in some reality, some actual reality in order to have existence. Because if it had no relevance to reality whatsoever, to actual reality, not your perceived reality, then, well, you would see it for what it is. Truth mixed with lies. That's how it has to be in order for the lies to have credence, to have credibility. So what's led me to this point of making this blog? I was born into this world you might say that each life is a different blueprint, a different symbol in existence, in consciousness, that each person that lives is living their life as that reality, as a symbol, and each person has their own individuality, because that one perspective cannot be felt anywhere else. So my one perspective, I was raised in a Seventh-day Adventist home, and I went through a rather godly phase when I was about 15, and by rights, from anyone's perspective outside of the deception I was raised in, I was in a cult. And that's, it was a very extreme religion, and there were reformed groups from that religion also, and I was part of the reformed group. Because as a young boy I only wanted to do what was right. When I finally decided to do what was right, what I knew to be right was to follow God in this rather twisted and convoluted way, and do everything that was told by me, by Him of me, to do. And so I did it. From that I went, from that extreme, I tried to get into Satanism. And, well, I did to an extent, but none of the meditations did any of the fantastic things that they claimed to do, and I couldn't see chakras. I didn't have any sight, so to speak. And then I learned that being raised in a Christian home and generations of Christians would cause me not to have this sight, this spiritual sight that everyone should have. And then I found a rather extreme group called Destiny. And, well, from one extreme to the other, this Destiny was claiming to do what is best for all as one is equal, using self-honesty as the basis. And given my tendency to join cults and follow absolute truths, I took this in and decided it was me. But deep within I suppressed a greater self, which was actually who I am now. And I didn't allow myself to exist because I was told that what I was and who I thought I existed as was not real. While I have learnt a lot from joining the group Destiny, I have not continued my involvement with them after my breaking away. I have learned from corporate involvement with corporations recently that the same ways corporations get customers to buy their products was the same way that Destiny used to market themselves. And that is, first you have to educate the person in your product. You have to create the need within them, and you have to redefine their logic in order to attempt to sell them the product. In this case, it was a belief system, and other religions or religious movements or even cults are not that much different. They all have their own set of words, they all have their own ways of speaking, their own vocabulary, their own ways of defining the truth, their own ways of defining their reality. But corporations are the same as religions. They've just got more action behind them. Thus, why they grow, why they rule, and not the church. Because the religion of money holds much greater sway than any other religion in this world. While not many people see money as religion, we just have to look at the way we move, what we do, why we do what we do, in order to see the truth. Don't listen to the words, don't try and reason with the monetary system, being told what you need to know in order to get more money, what you need to do in order to get more money. Look at what you're doing. We are demons of vanity, and I'm only using the word demons in a very light and metaphorical sense, not actually calling ourselves demons as those fiery things, those fiery creatures we have visualized when taught to be Christians in extremist homes. Demons of vanity. And we are all this. We all crave power. We all want more power. And because we have moved on from past medieval times of I'm bigger than you, thus I have your house and you can die. We have found a way of projecting power to a point and calling it money. We have placed power inside a coin, inside a note, inside our perception, in order to survive. Because power as it was only being divvied out to a few people like kings and queens, and then they would divvy that power off to other people around them, depending on their rule, depending on what they wanted. While their claimed interest was to save the people, to work for the people, to do what's best for the people. What's actually best for the people is to be equal to the people, not to teach the people to praise another man, to look up and towards and do anything to risk life for a man just because, such as a king or a queen or a prince, just because they have been raised to believe that this person is more than them. So money has been separated from the hierarchy of monarchy, and it has been placed into an object that everyone can attain. Power has been taken from the hierarchy of monarchy, whether it's an actual king, queen monarchy or an emperor or whatever. that's been placed into money. So we can all equally share, we all have the chance to have money, to have power. We all have the chance for absolute power. Because we are demons of vanity. We crave, we only want power. Every one of us. To deny this is to lie. Because even if I continued with my deception I was first raised in, I only continued in that deception to be an individual. As that deception, I was taught that I knew more than everyone else, that I was blessed with special knowledge, that God had given me the chance to spread the word to other people, and I was special. I was raised with this mentality. It's done me no good. Because just to think that you are more than another person and then not see outside of yourself that it's actually true, you create suppression within yourself. Because I believed that I was right and I wasn't getting what was my right to have. I was taught that I was more than another person in knowledge, though equal under the law of God. I was taught that I was special with what I was endowed with. And so, the rest of my life, up until now, can be seen as a picture of me complaining to the world and fighting with reality. This lie that does not exist, but I believe it is my right have more, to be above, to be greater, and yet not seeing it out there. And thus it causes me to suppress this anger, and this anger suppresses and it builds up. It's like a cycle. And sometimes the cycle moves faster, it's more intense, sometimes it moves slower. But the more I deny what I actually believe, what I was raised to believe to be real, the more I see out there that I'm not actually more than others. It causes this cycle to put a stockpile of all this energy that's created, this anger that is suppressed, and it puts it to the side. It's like a cloth making machine. What do you call them? The one in the fairy tale where she pricked her finger and she got hurt. What was that? You know, the spinning wheel. That's exactly what it's like. And each time I spin, each time I get more angry or I suppress that anger, I don't let it out because I can't let it out. No one will believe me. Everyone think that I'm crazy because I actually believe that I'm more than everyone else. I'm actually creating a stockpile of all this fantastic high quality string over here, which once the bin gets full, and the bin of all this suppressed anger, and it starts bursting at the seams, it can't hold anymore. And then suddenly, in a moment of when I'm not focusing, where I'm not, or I direct my anger through music, for example, and I allow myself to ultimately express all this shit, believing it is my right to be more and greater, to try and prove to my reality that I am more than you. So each time I suppress that anger and create another time bomb to explode, that time bomb is like another tool in itself by my inward deception, used by my inward deception to try and get on the next step of the rung of the ladder of the eventual goal of being higher than everyone else. Because that anger can be directed. For example, I might see that the only way for me to be more than others, to try and be greater, is by becoming an actor and learning through the self-abusive acting life, that by getting more money and being put on a pedestal, being seen on TV, that proving to my reality that way that I am greater than it. You know, if I see that that is the only way, then for this moment, me as I am now sees no way of that happening. So I get angry. And what happens with that anger? That anger compresses and compounds to a point. Each time I'm reminded of what I could be because of what I think I am, but I can't be it, I create more of this and I stockpile it in a bin. And then that bin is bulging at the seams. And then when I thought, no, this is impossible, I can't do it, all this energy just wants to get out and it wants to prove that yes, I can do it. And then suddenly, like in a moment or an opportunity will come, and then it'll just come out in one big rush, and then I'll be bumped up to the next rung of the ladder on my forward dream to be greater than everyone else. And that's how it works. As long as I breathe, as long as I survive, as long as I don't get so frustrated with myself, with this compounding anger that I end up killing myself, or do something that severely limits my progress, which eventually just causes more anger to be compounded, and thus expedites the rise to power. As long as nothing hinders it, eventually, if I just continue living on life as though, and just relaxed and not try and get higher and higher, this anger machine inside of me will cause me to become a position in society without me even trying, that is perceived as greater than everyone else, like an actor, for example. or a ruler, or a president, or a banker, or a public figure of some description, or a musician, or a rock star, anything. Because of this desire that was placed within me from a very young age, and this anger that compounds, eventually, no matter what I do, I'm led to the same direction, to the same point, where there is no way forward but up. And I am forced to move in my path that I was originally intended to go within, that I originally intended myself to go within. Because whether I like it or not, the more that I increase knowledge of this world and the level of the deception around me, the more responsibility I place on my shoulder, and the higher I believe I need to go.